At this point, I'm going to turn it over. Please welcome Dr. Jeff Russell.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, Roxanne, and our Office of Research and Creative Activity. So thanks for coming, and we're going to show you some interesting things. I think that I've got probably the most fun job on campus. Now, there's probably a lot of other people that think their job's pretty fun, but I think my job's pretty fun because I get to take care of artists, and I'm not an artist myself, but I got into this field. Maybe I should tell you how that all came about. I was at Belhaven University teaching in sports medicine and exercise science in Jackson, Mississippi. And I'm minding my own business in the athletic training facility, and a knock on the door came, and a ballet dancer came in. Young lady with a leotard and pink tights, hair back in a bun, and she just needed somebody to help her. So I said, okay, I'm happy to help you. And she had an injury, and I took care of her, and she went on her way. And then a couple days later, another knock on the door. So this wasn't a usual place for them to come to. So another knock on the door, and in comes another ballet dancer. Took care of her, she went on her way, and then predictably, all of a sudden there was this flow of dancers that were coming from the dance program because they had been injured, and they needed somebody to take care of them because there wasn't anybody. And so there in Jackson, Mississippi, I changed my career, lock, stock, and barrel, from sports medicine to performing arts medicine. And then from there, got my PhD at the University of Wolverhampton in England, the only place in the world at the time where you could get a PhD in dance medicine. And from there, I went to the University of California, Irvine, and then I heard about this place called Ohio University. Heard that you guys were here, and so I decided, well, I better get over there. So I got here as quick as I could. So I'm not from here, but I got here as quick as I could, and I'm glad to be here because we've started something here that's unlike in the volume of things that we're doing, the types of activities that we're doing. It's unlike really any other university in the country. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And this is what I do. So when we say shape, we talk about science and health and artistic performance. And today we're going to talk about music, we're going to talk about dance, we're going to talk about theater, we're going to talk about marching band. So we've got a lot of ground to cover. So we are located in Putnam 304. We've got 4 licensed athletic trainers, and all 4 of us are here. You'll meet the others in a little bit. We have a physician medical director. What we do primarily is prevention, evaluation, treatment, and rehab of performing arts injuries. We give exercise and nutritional advice, and then we give on-site care for the marching band, the dancers, and the theater program. So we do actually a lot, and on top of this is just the clinic. We also have a very strong research program, and we've also got an education program that we do. So now, we're going to experience some of the demands that we see in our performing artists. And so we're going to start with music. So in music, I'd like you to think of an instrument, any instrument, that you don't play with your hands out in front of you. Is there an instrument that's not played with the arms and the hands out here? Can you name one? A flute. No, the flute, their arms are out like this. Anybody? It's a little hard, isn't it? And the reason is because I can't think of one. I've asked musicians to think of one. I mean, my musical experience was playing tenor sax in high school. And that was the end of the line for me. So that's really what I knew. But I asked a bunch of musicians. Nobody, I ask in all my classes, nobody can tell me an instrument that you play back here because I don't think there is one. They're always out here in front. And that is a significant point as we unfold this and talk about something that I call the slouch ouch. And so the slouch ouch is a very specific group of pain syndromes that we deal with. It's called myofascial pain. This means muscle. This means connective tissue. So all up through the back, the shoulders, the upper extremities, the neck, because you're always out in front like this, playing guitar, harp, no matter what instrument, you've got a very strong set of pain signals that are coming from tissue that's just overworking. So the muscles that this posture can't maintain the stability. These young people, they are in the studios, they're practicing, they're rehearsing, they're performing for hours on end. And so it's really something that they are putting so much demand on their body. So we're going to show a little bit of how this looks. The typical posture is you have a head forward and you start slouching forward. That's why we call it the slouch. Ouch, because it's slouching and it hurts badly. Okay, so what I'd like to do, I'd like to have one of my athletic trainers that works with me, Allie Bryan. She's going to come up. And Allie, what percentage of people in the Shape Clinic that are musicians do you think have this problem?
Oh, 80-90% easy.
Okay, so a lot of them. And I have to remember too, when I ask you something or when you say something, we've got to have this mic, okay? So you said 80 to 90% of the musicians have this problem. So it's a big problem, big problem.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what we're going to do, we are going to set up our own orchestra to test this out. So we're going to set up the PVC Philharmonic Orchestra. What we need is 4, and you're going to get a front row seat if you'll volunteer for this. We need 4 volunteers to come. We're not going to hurt you. We're not going to embarrass you in any way. But we need 4 volunteers to come up. I've also got with me Jasmine Watson. Jasmine, can you come, please? So Jasmine is a flautist, as you can tell. And she's also, so she's a double major, music and exercise physiology. So she plays the flute. Could you just sit in the chair, Jasmine, and show us what a proper posture would look like for a musician? Okay, so she's sitting up straight, her shoulders are back, so teacher says, yes, that looks great, Jasmine, well done. All right, so do we have 4 volunteers that will come up? Because we're going to assign each of 4 people an instrument, and you're going to, you don't have to play anything, because the music department wouldn't let me use instruments. They said, over my dead body, there's no way we're going to give out instruments. So that's why we have the PVC Orchestra. So we're going to set you up to be in a posture so that you understand what these guys go through. So will 4 people volunteer to do this? Okay, yes, come up, please. Yes, sir, you can come. Oh, Bert, you want to come? All right, Bert, come along, come along. We'll give you all a front row seat here. All right, I don't want you to fall off the bench. All right, so now Jasmine and Allie are going to help you guys get into position for these instruments, okay? So go ahead, and which instrument would you like? You like cello? Yo-Yo Ma? James Galway, our flutist? Do you want flute? Dizzy Gillespie, our trumpeter? Or do you want Kenny G, the soprano sax?
I'll do soprano sax.
Soprano sax, Kenny G, right here. Let's have this one. There you go, sir. You can have a seat right there. Thank you very much. All right. Trumpet for Bert. Okay, thank you very much. And then Jasmine, you start helping them get into position that they should be in for the instrument that they're playing. I can help you because you can kind of match the picture on the slide back there. So he plays like this. He's got his hands up like that. So you just stay right like that, okay? And you can't lean back against the chair, by the way, because they don't use backs on their chairs. There you go. All right? Got to sit forward. Got our trumpeter. Oh, maybe we should switch those guys because she has to be able to move her right arm like this. So let's put the cello on the right side. There we go. All right, now remember, this is serious. This is a serious presentation. There you go. Serious presentation. So you guys just stay like that. We'll check back with you from time to time. But what we're looking for is for you to help understand. So the cellist. So look back at see Mr. Ma there. All right, so that's how you've got to be. And then here we've got like this. There's your bow. Right, okay. There you go. You can't lean on the chair. No, you got to stand upright. We're trying to show you the demands of these guys and what they're under when they come into the Shape Clinic. Say, oh, I'm hurting so much. Okay? All right, so very good. So we have our PVC Orchestra. So now, from there, we can move forward and I wanted to ask you, Jasmine, before we go on to dance, let me ask. No, you just stay. No, you gotta stay in the position. Now, come on, come on. No, you've messed up your hand. No, your hand goes over the top. Okay, Allie, maybe just help her out there.
I don't even know what a cello looks like in real life.
Okay, look back here. Look back here again. See Yo-Yo Ma right here. Look, see him?
Am I supposed to be attempting to do this?
Yep, you just stay in that position. You got it. Just stay in that position. You're a cello player for today, okay? All right. Now, Jasmine, can you tell us a little bit, please, about posture and about what your teachers teach you about posture and how important posture is in music? And You as an expert flautist, how do you deal with posture, and what are some of the things that you find important about your posture?
So it's really important to make sure that you're sitting up tall, shoulders are back, so you can use your full lung capacity, especially if you play like a wind instrument, because you can't play if your lungs don't inflate as much as you're supposed to. But you don't want to be tense when you do it. You want to make sure that you feel relaxed. So when you practice for 2 or 3 hours or have a rehearsal for 2 or 3 hours, you don't get tense or sore the next day. You just want to make sure that you're doing it right all the time so you don't have pain.
And do your teachers ever talk to you about posture, or they just leave it up to you?
They talk a lot about posture, making sure that if we're standing, you're not slouching. If you're sitting, you're not slouching, just because it's important for your playing and also for your health in general.
So would you say that posture is a very important aspect of playing music?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. And so you wouldn't be able to play the flute without proper posture?
Not well.
And
no.
and do you ever have pain when you're practicing for a long period of time or playing concerts or whatever for a long time?
Yeah, sometimes. Like we had a recording session a few weeks ago that was 3 days long.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was a little sore after that,
Okay.
just from being in there for hours.
All right, good. All right, thank you, Jasmine. Appreciate that. All right, yeah, give her a hand. Give her a hand. She did well. She did well. Okay, so PVC Philharmonic, how you doing? Okay, you guys, look, your sound is exactly on pitch. It's perfect. Okay, so all right, now our flute, possibly they're going to have the hand a little farther down there. You can look back at Mr. Galway just briefly if you need to. Okay, and there you go. Okay, you doing all right on the cello? Doing fine.
I'm trying to breathe fully through.
Okay, we don't stop breathing. Don't stop breathing. That's good. Excellent. Okay, so now let's go ahead and we'll go on to dance, and we'll see what we can find out about dance. Okay? All right. So in dance, you guys are okay, right? We have these reminders through the talk to make sure we check back with these guys. So you kind of evaluate, are these guys slouching? How are they doing? You want to make sure, audience, feel free to encourage them if they seem like they're slouching a little bit. Okay? All right, so dance. This type of dance, this is from classical ballet. So this is what I've studied. My PhD dissertation was on the anatomy and motion of the ankle and foot in classical ballet. And ballet is actually a very interesting type of dance. This particular style with pointe shoes is extremely rigorous. This type of dance is not one that's practiced much here at OU, just because our program is primarily devoted to modern and contemporary dance. However, this is what I've studied, and I'm still studying actually with colleagues out in California. We still are evaluating this, and I wanted to go through and just talk to you for a second about pointe shoes, and we're going to have an opportunity again for audience participation here. Now, this is an unnatural position. Is that a surprise to you? Right? So how many of you can do this with your foot? All right? So that's not what I'm going to ask you to do, is come up here and do that. Right? But you can see that this is very much, oops, sorry, wrong button. This is very much here a position that you probably don't want to have your ankle and foot in. Right? And it's having studied this, having been around these young women and talked to them and x-rayed them and done MRIs on them, and it's just still remarkable to me that they can do this. You have a maximum pointing of the foot, and you're doing it bearing all of your weight, sometimes on one foot, sometimes on two, but you're bearing all of your weight. So what I've done is I've studied using magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI, and this is one of the girls standing on pointe, actually technically not standing in this case, because what I developed was a way to bind their ankle and foot in the pointe position, and then we put them inside the MRI scanner while they're lying down, because you can't stand up in one of those big MRI machines. And how are we doing over there, orchestra?
Right or left-handed?
Oh, you're right. Are you right-handed? Play the cello with the right hand. You're doing good. Keep up the good work. All right. So now, when we look at the MRIs, it shows us the position of the bone. So this is the bone at the top of the foot, and ordinarily it's tipped back this way. This is the heel bone right here. So this is your heel. Here's your Achilles tendon, this black stripe, just to give you some orientation. So this is in the same orientation as this. So just picture that this ankle was taken with MRI. one thing that we notice is there's a partial ankle dislocation. This bone should be farther back, but what's happening is this pressure back here is squeezing it forward. And it puts an awful lot of stress on the joint surface. And this black here is the nice, smooth surface of your joint. And when you put a lot of stress on that, it's prone to arthritis. And so what we're studying now is using a very special high degree of MRI imaging to be able to find out where on that surface takes the most stress. So it's very interesting research, and we've been doing this now for several years. So we have a lot of stress on the joint. So what I thought would be interesting is if we gave a demo of someone who actually is qualified as what I would call a proper ballerina, right, or British terminology. And so we would have Darby come out. So Darby is one of my graduate students. She's an athletic trainer in the Shape Clinic, but she also happens to have a background in ballet, and actually was on a trajectory to become a professional ballerina until she had an injury and then took up athletic training so that she could then care for dancers as opposed to being one herself. So Darby, can you show us some ballet moves, please? So maybe just start. Do you want to bring a chair? Lauren, can you bring a chair out? No, don't mess up our orchestra. No. Lauren will bring a chair. Lauren will bring a chair. Here you go. Okay, so typically you'll see in a ballet studio a big long bar. Okay, so Darby's going to use a chair for her bar. So just like first position, go up from first position and back down. Just a couple of times. And so you can see that she just kind of springs up on. Now, can you do it from second? Okay, and you can see how far her ankles are. Does it hurt? Yeah, I see some grimaces out there like, ooh, glad I'm not doing that. Okay. All right, now, can you just show them? So one of the things that they may have seen on stage is a pas de bourrée. So can you do a bit of pas de bourrée for them? So very quick and short movements, and then the real rapid fire. There you go, and that's a classic one that you may have seen as well, right? And then she can just stay up there, and we get a couple hours. You'd like to do that, right? It's hard on the ankles. It's hard on the ankles. It's a very difficult work, and you have to get your ankle into that position. And keep it there and bear weight on it and do that day after day after day after day. It's really something that is quite astounding. So that's what dancing on Pointe looks like. We won't ask you to come up and demonstrate it. However, we do have some Pointe shoes. Oh, first of all, we need to check with our orchestra. How are we doing over here? Excuse me, trumpet players play with their right hand. You can't put your right hand down. Okay. How are we doing? All right. Oh, I think Mr. Ma keeps his elbow up a little farther. Okay.
There's no reason to be in pain. I adjusted myself.
You adjusted yourself. Okay. Good. All right. Jasmine, how's our flutist looking? Is he doing okay? You happy with that?
A little bit higher, but
Okay. All right. Correct him if you need to. Yeah. Correct him. All right. You guys feeling good then? Loving it, aren't you? Now, Bert, what's going on with the right hand? You got to have that right hand up. What do you mean no? That's the direct order. All right. So you can see our orchestra, they're not looking quite the same as they were at the beginning, are they? And that's a key point. All right? That's a key point. All right? Okay, so who wants to try on some Pointe shoes? So we don't have like big giant ones for some of you guys, unfortunately, but we do have several different pairs of Pointe shoes that are mine that I've used in my research. And so we'd like, again, looking for ways to show you some of the demands of the performing artists and what they're under. We'd like to know if anybody would like to volunteer, and we'll check your size. If we've got your size, we'll be happy to let you try to stick your foot down in one of those Pointe shoes to see what it feels like. Who would like to do that? We have a volunteer. Sydney? Did I see your hand up, Sydney? Come on, Lauren. Here we go. Lauren will do it. All right, good. Thank you for volunteering, Lauren. Yeah, come and try. Come and try. What size do you wear? What size do you wear? Oh, okay. Her foot's too big. All right, so we're going to give out. Sydney, no, you don't want to try? No? Okay, it's all right. Rox, you want to try? What's that? All right. Good. Rox will do it. Who else will do it? Who else will do it? Anybody? All right.
Brand new Pointe shoes. They're really pretty.
All right, just come on right there. And so the point really is to see what it's like. So you've got a shoe. Let me grab one, and I'll show you how they look. There we go. Thank you. So a Pointe shoe doesn't look like it's got very much space in there, and it doesn't. So this front part, which is called the box, the toe box, the box is very hard. And so that's why on the floor, it sounds like they're clomping, all right, because it's hard. And so that encases the front part of the foot. But it's like putting your foot into a tube, and so you have to, most of our feet, when we walk in a typical pair of shoes, our feet flatten out. But in a Pointe shoe, to get it in, you have to curve your feet this way to slide it down in because it's so narrow. And so then they put their foot in there. Sometimes they'll put padding in there. They all have their different ways of doing it. They'll put some padding in there. They'll stick their foot in there. And then they'll take the ribbons and they'll tie the ribbons around their ankles like you saw with Darby. And that's what helps hold the Pointe shoe on. So we've got some brave people. And Darby's helping tie the ribbons in the right place. Now, Sam, did you ever do dance when you were younger? No? Okay. All right, Rox, did you do some when you were younger? Okay, good. So you have some expertise there. All right. So how does that feel?
Awkward.
So is your foot flat?
No, the foot's really arched. And I have very arched feet. And so right now the arch just feels like it's not in the right position. And also your feet are right up against those shoes. And it sort of makes me think of those Japanese brides where they used to bind their feet. So they're not exactly, they're really pretty, but not very comfortable.
So feel free if you want to stand up. You don't have to stand on point, but just if you want to walk a little bit and see how they feel, walking.
Yeah.
Does it feel a little awkward? Is it difficult to walk?
Like a duck.
Yeah, you're walking like a duck. Exactly.
Okay. Now, Sam, how do your feet feel?
My toes are pretty cramped. When you walk on them, the arch, it really pushes up on your arch.
So if you did a 2-hour rehearsal, you think you'd be okay?
Probably not. Not with any past experience, no.
Right. So it's you. Oh, and you're going. Oh, look at you trying it out. Okay. So how does it feel? How does it feel when you're up on your toes like that?
It's a little painful, a little uncomfortable. My toes are kind of cramped.
Yeah. Good. Excellent. Oh, look it over here. Nice. Well done. That's a good try. Okay. Really good. Well, see, that gives us an idea then of how the dancers have to fit their feet in there. And if this is your job, this is what you do every single day. A typical dancer, so I've got some friends at the Royal Ballet that do their health care for them, at the Birmingham Royal Ballet, at the New York City Ballet. So some of these big ballet companies, the girls go through approximately a pair of Pointe shoes every day and a half. So, for example, the Royal Ballet, their budget for Pointe shoes is 250 pounds sterling, 250,000 pounds sterling. So that's about $400,000. So that's a lot of money for Pointe shoes because they go through them so fast. And if you walk into the Pointe shoe room at the Royal Opera House, and it's about from this screen back that way, from about here back all the way to the windows over there. So that is the room where they keep their Pointe shoes because they have to have so many of them, and the girls are going through them a pair every couple of days. So really, really an interesting aspect of dance, and something that can be very, very prone to injury. I've studied it a lot. It's fascinating work, and just wanted to give a little bit of a flavor of how that world works. All right? So now we're going to talk about theater. All right, so back to our PVC Philharmonic. How are we doing? Bert, you still not playing that trumpet with your right hand?
I'm a lefty.
You're a lefty. Uh-oh. All right. All right. How are we doing here? You guys feeling the pain a little bit?
A little bit. I tried to move a little, but apparently someone's trying to take pictures, so.
Oh, okay. That's you're impressing them. All right. So but you're sitting back against your chair now, which, yeah, the cellist would not be allowing that. But anyways, so tell us a little bit. If you're having pain, if you're feeling, like, how does it feel to you to stay like that?
Well, first of all, I'm flexing my stomach muscles, so that's not good. Second of all, I'm not, I don't have enough muscle here to sustain this, so that's
You can
what
move
I'm
if you
gonna
like,
work
and
on.
you can play like you're
Well,
playing.
the
There you
thing
go.
is, the reason I'm moving is because if I'm gonna learn this, I want to learn it. I want to be corrected first.
Oh, okay.
So I realize that's not possible, like in this situation,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I see no reason to be in pain because of it.
Okay. Well, I can tell you probably the worst case of myofascial pain syndrome I've ever dealt with was a cellist who was practicing about 10 hours a day.
What?
And her upper extremities were both numb when she came to me, and she had absolutely no core strength through the trunk, the muscles through the trunk. And so put her on a program, and 6 weeks later, she was vastly improved. She got her degree. She moved back to Columbia. She's doing amazing,
That's
doing a good
awesome.
job. So being a cellist,
The
it's
reason I'm here is because I'm going to start doing burlesque, and I would like to take advantage of your, expertise. If someone wants to work with me, please. I don't know if I can pay you, but I can probably get a grant to do so.
okay. All right, thank you. All right, so how about you, sir? How's that feeling for you?
It's okay. I'm mostly uncomfortable. I'm trying not to smack the cellist.
Okay,
So
all right. Well,
I have to try to find a good angle.
The cellist
and,
wants out of the orchestra, so you might not have to worry about that for too much longer. Okay.
Still see no reason to be in pain.
All right. How about you, Bert? How's everything going? You're leaning back against a chair, which is not allowed. So you're failing our orchestra audition here.
I already failed.
So how do you feel? What does it? So you're a dancer. So how is it different than what you do in dance?
There's no different. I can feel it more in my shoulders and my scaps a lot.
Okay. All
That's
right.
why my right arm is not up.
Okay. All right. Because you're feeling the pain. All right, sir. And how about you, the soprano sax, Kenny G? You're actually looking pretty good, I must say, all things considered. But how does that feel to you?
Yeah, I'm feeling it a lot in my delts.
In your where? Your deltoid? Up here in your shoulders. Okay. All right. How about your trunk?
Not so much, no.
No. How about your neck? Anything in your neck?
A little bit.
A little bit in your neck, but a lot in your shoulders, just from holding that position. Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. All right. Just wanted to check back with you guys. All right. So, our cellist, you're out. Are you?
I'm actually not in as much pain as I was.
Okay. So you're doing better. Here we go. So in theater, one of the things that we see, surprisingly, there is nothing in sports that gets more attention right now than concussion. Everybody hears about it. Football, hockey, baseball, softball, whatever it is, anything that's where you might get hit in the head, and there's a lot of ways to do that in sports. That's what people are talking about. Well, let me tell you, theater is a place where we see a lot of concussions. And it's one of those things that we have to really deal with, because this is an injury to your brain. Actually, your brain is injured. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's just a sort of a blow to your head, just a ding or getting your bell rung. And they have all these different terms for it. It's a serious injury because it's an injury to your brain. Might be hit in the head, might be hit in the face. We see a lot of them when you get smashed in the nose. Or it might be a whiplash type of an injury where your body is moved around and your head gets whipped. That can also give you a concussion. So it doesn't have to just be a direct blow to the head. In theater and entertainment, we see a lot, particularly in the production, the technical roles, in stage combat, in stunts, and in acting backstage. Whoops, I'm going the wrong way. So I did a study, and in that study we had 209 people that responded to our survey from the theater industry. They had, the ones that had at least one head impact during something in theater, there was 2/3 of them. They had the ones that had a head impact that had symptoms that were like a concussion, even though they might not have had that diagnosis. They said, these symptoms I had, they were like a concussion, but they kept on participating. Out of the 140 that got hit in the head, 98 of them just kept on going. The ones that had a head impact, they had those same kinds of symptoms, but they didn't tell anybody. So they kept participating, and they didn't tell anybody. They didn't tell their director. They didn't tell a healthcare provider. 45% of them. And then the really sad one to me is you take all the ones that had a diagnosis of concussion. There were 25 out of this group that said, yes, I had a diagnosis. I went to the doctor. I had a diagnosis of concussion. Only 28% did not receive the right kind of care to go back. They basically just said, yeah, do whatever you want. And when you feel better, go back. And that's just simply inappropriate care. And it's unfortunate that this is what we deal with in theater. This is what really got my attention. So in the red, 77% of these people said I've had 3 or more concussions, or 3 or more head impacts to my head during theater. And then 39% of them said I've had more than 5 in my career, head impacts. And a lot of these are associated with concussion-like symptoms. Unfortunately, we don't have healthcare providers with them that can say, yes, this was a concussion. So it becomes quite a difficult situation. All right, how are we doing here? You guys in the orchestra okay?
I am trying to not be in pain, so that's my goal here. But if someone could correct me, then I would be able to do it.
Okay, so I think you're getting kind of the appreciation of what we're seeing in the Shape Clinic, because you're saying that you're in pain, and I would probably expect that because again, you're not a trained cellist, but you have a definite understanding of now what they're going through, an appreciation. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna let you guys off the hook, okay? And we're gonna give you a big round of applause because you were willing to get up here and act like, as best you could, get an idea of what these artists go through. So thank you very much for doing that. Can we take up their instruments, please? All right, so that was very illustrative, accomplished really what I was looking for. I wanted people to see what it's like. And you can imagine, try it when you get home tonight. Sit in a chair and try to maintain a posture like that, and you see how it feels. It's one of those things that until you actually do it, you might not appreciate what those musicians are going through as they're participating in their concert. Okay, so now back to what we were talking about with theater. Stage combat is a big area where we see theater injuries and head injuries. And so we have one of our theater students, Taylor Neely. He's going to come up. And Taylor, yep, give him a big hand. So Taylor, tell us about being in stage combat. Does your head ever enter into your thought process when you're doing some of the things that you do in stage combat?
Yeah, all the time, because there's hand-to-hand stage combat, and then there's also with weapons. They're prop weapons, of course, so like swords, rapier, and daggers, one that I got certified in last semester. But you're constantly worried about getting bonked in the head or whatever. Even if you have that trust in your partner, it's still a possibility any given day.
So you said certified, so we don't just let anybody say, oh, here's a sword, go and try and have fun with it.
No, so last semester, you have a whole semester of combat. We focused on rapier and dagger, and then also hand-to-hand. And at the end of the semester, a lady by the name of Kay Jenny came in, and we had a 5 to 6 hour long day where she observed us performing the thing we worked on throughout the semester. And not everyone even passed and got certified. So you have to make sure you're on top of rehearsals and such to even get certified.
So it's a big deal, and it's got to be done right.
Yes.
And fortunately, we have Professor Evans, who's amazing. He's our professor in stage combat and theater, and he's absolutely on our side in terms of preventing injury and then treating them properly when they do occur. So I've asked Taylor if he would show us some of the things that they would do in stage combat as an illustration to give you an idea of some of what they go through, and with a particular mind to not having a concussion. Okay, so Taylor, whatever you'd like to show us, we'd be more than happy to see from you.
Here's just a roll, and we first learned by you want to get on your shoulder and do it, because if you don't know how to do it, you can smack your head into the ground, but it's pretty easy to learn. So there's that.
Okay. Yeah, give him a big hand. Yeah.
And then another one that one of my classmates hit their head in is falling backward. They weren't careful and didn't make sure they didn't actually hit their head on the ground. So you want to get your knee back and do it, but so there's an example of that. But
So that sounded kind of loud. So, but you weren't hitting your head, right?
No, I wasn't hitting my head. I was smacking my hands.
So can you show
on
that
the
again?
ground.
Can you show that again so they catch that? All right, so watch what he does now. Oh, a little misdirected visualization there, huh? Okay. Excellent, okay. And then you had something else you wanted to show us?
So you were talking about the whipping of the head. Usually when you have in hand-to-hand, if someone smacks you, you get a nice nap. That's how you simulate the sound of the slap. But when you're getting slapped, you whip your head like this. And if you're not careful, and if you're doing it multiple times, it can get strenuous for your neck. And if you do it too hard, you can get whiplash or like that.
Yeah.
So
okay, good. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Well done. Thank you for coming. All right, big hand, big hand. Now, one of the things you can see, I have different kinds of headgear up here, but one of the things that we're doing with our stage combat class and with Professor Evans is we're trying to protect people's heads. So these two types of headgear, so we have a headgear that straps on that we like to use for our production people when we don't want, if you wear a hard hat, such as this, it doesn't have a strap and it's easy to get bumped off your head. On the other hand, if we can strap it on, then they don't have to worry about it coming off. It's there and it stays on. And then when we're in the theater, as athletic trainers, we're using this type of headgear as well. But what we're using now with our stage combat class, kind of piloting some research, is we're using a headgear that's designed for rugby and flag football. And it looks like this. There's another one that looks remarkably light, but it actually has a very special type of high-impact plastic inside here that's used in the NFL. You'll see a lot of the players wearing this underneath their helmet. So this is an example of having an athletic trainer with knowledge about sports medicine apply what we know from sports to be able to work with the performing arts. And so it's really a good thing. Yes, question? Be happy to do that. So I will send these around. If I can ask you guys to help out. So the question was, can you pass around the helmets? And so I'm happy to do that. And you can see all the different kinds. If you want to, you put it on your head. Doesn't matter. We can disinfect them. It's no problem. Put them on your head. It's no big deal. Okay, so that brings us to marching band. So now we're going to switch gears even again. You can see the variety of what we get to work with. So there's a very advanced physicality in the Marching 110, and Marching 110 really over many of the bands, if not most of the bands in the United States. But we see problems with heat illness because of the heavy wool uniform they wear. The marching style that they use is very physical. And then the choreography. And so this is just a quick snippet. This is just a quick snippet here. I might have to go to my computer and run it. Of some of what our marching band does. So watch the different kinds of physical things that they're doing and think about you doing that and what that would seem like. Okay, swing a tuba around, coming down on the ground into a split, dancing and spinning in a parade. This is all from the Macy's parade where we were in New York City at Thanksgiving. Okay, so that's just a snippet of what we do. Now, oops, sorry. Who wants to try this? Because who do I like to introduce now is I'd like to introduce Aaron Knorr, my third of my 3 graduate students. It's one of our athletic trainers in the Shape Clinic. He's got a special guest with him, Rob Schroeder, one of our trombone players. Absolutely. So Aaron has been working for 2 years now with the Marching 110. So Aaron, if you could you just talk briefly about a couple of the things you think about, but then we want Rob to maybe show a couple of our volunteers how maybe to do a step off and something else that you might do in marching band, okay?
Of course. So working as the athletic trainer for the Marching 110 has brought a lot of unique experiences under my belt. Never before have I seen a band so physical and so entertaining in my life. And just being there with them in and out of rehearsals, performances, all their travel, it's a very, very intense schedule. And we all have knowledge of how hard it is for student athletes on campus, but these are also performing artists, athletes, in my opinion. And they put in so much time and so much work just perfecting the beautiful performance and craft that you guys get to enjoy. And so it really is a privilege for me to work with them. But at the same time, I get to see all the craziness that happens behind the scenes, whether it's responding to an emergency on the field when it's 90 plus degrees outside in the humidity, anywhere into we're on the middle of a parade route and someone goes down and I have to evaluate, is this an emergency? Do I need to call 911 and EMS, and how do I get the best care for this person? So I've definitely earned a lot of their respect and vice versa for them. And I hope Rob here can kind of demonstrate some of the cool, funky moves that he gets to do on the daily in the fall. So.
Okay, good, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Rob, what would you like to show us?
Well, I guess I'll start out by demonstrating the fundamental marching step that the Marching 110 employs. It's really unique to our band. Most bands use what's known as a chair step, whereas it's a 90-degree angle from the thigh, and then from there it's a 90-degree angle calf towards the ground, like so. However, the Marching 110 uses what we call a 45-degree adjusted chair step, whereas it's a 90-degree thigh that's parallel to the ground, but then from there the calf bends downward 45 degrees and you point the toe to go along with it, like so. And so do that however many thousands of times we do a day, and you really there's a physicality to it that it definitely requires training that the Shape Clinic is provided to us in spades. So for now, I'll give you a simple drill that we use to exercise. It's called a mark time 8. Tweet, 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 tweet. Oh, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, close, drop. And so that was just maybe a couple of seconds of doing it. 9 steps in total, even though it's called a mark time 8, but who's counting? But if you do that, through an entire 20-minute performance, it takes a physical toll. And so there's definitely a requirement of physical training that, like I said, the Shape Clinic has developed an incredible system of dynamic stretches and preventative maintenance to help us be at the top of our physicality. And so, like in the clip you saw, we also do one of our signature dance moves it's called a 270 split, where you jump in the air, rotate 270 degrees, and then land on the ground in a split. Easy, right?
And we're going to take, Dr. Boyle wants to try that one.
So I'll demonstrate that here right now.
Nice. Excellent. Excellent.
Again, there's a level of training that goes into that, so it's not just anybody can jump up and do that without seriously hurting themselves. so don't try that at home.
That's right. That's right.
Especially without the support of the Shape Clinic.
So Rob, the initial step, the chair, the modified chair, the 45-degree, is that's something that if we had a couple of volunteers come up, you could show them how to do that? Would that work out?
Certainly.
Okay. So who's going to volunteer to come up and learn this basic first step of the marching 110? Come on now. Come on up here. Who's gonna do it? Just for fun.
Oh.
Just for fun. All right, there's some volunteers back there.
There we go.
There we go. There we go. There you go. Again, trying to give you an idea of what these guys go through. All right.
Righto. So here, let's have we stand in a line right here. Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Right. So the most important thing is posture. Like we talked about with the flute players and the PVC Orchestra, the single biggest thing is posture. So shoulders up, back, and then down again. Nice puffed out chest, right? And so now, like I said, you want to bring your thigh up so it's parallel to the ground. Okay. The posture is important here for gaining your balance. All right. And now from there, you want to point your toe, and then make your calf stick out 45 degrees to the ground. So this guy's doing pretty good. He's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
He's ready for auditions.
Can we do it like a call line?
That's not bad either. You're pointed and you want to be straightforward. You know, not like so.
Yeah.
Right?
Got to have a little bend to that knee. A little bend to the knee.
Boots are a little bit of a disadvantage with the toe point. The thigh can be brought up a little bit more. Yeah. But all in all, that's all there is to it. Now do 9 of those real fast, alternating.
Carrying an instrument.
Right. Right. So who wants to try the 270 split?
No.
No, because the Shape Clinic's off duty. That's
Right.
what. Good job, guys. Thank you for coming up. All right, that's good. So, Rob, is there any other? One thing that we wanted to comment on is your uniform. So, I remember when we were at Tennessee. Remember that game? We were at the University of Tennessee. So the temperature was probably 95, and this is a thick wool. And I'm sure if you'd like, Rob will come and you can feel what it is. But this is a thick black wool, and it's the same whether it's cold or whether it's warm. And so this is really a cooker when they're outside in the heat. And it was really humid at the University of Tennessee. It was really hot. We had to order extra water. And it was just a very difficult game for these guys because you can't be the 110 without the uniform. You can't just like peel things off and unbutton your collar and things like that. That's just not the way it works. So that was a pretty rough game.
Right. Yes, certainly a huge part of the impact the Shape Clinic has had on the Marching 110 is their preventative maintenance with the dynamic stretches and especially their emphasis on hydration. Like he mentioned, the Marching 110 has a very strict tradition of we do not appear in partial uniform, whereas a lot of marching bands in warm weather will remove the top half, and we see that as kind of unprofessional. So we maintain that we always wear our all or nothing, so either all of the uniform or none of it. And so in a 85-degree weather with humidity, if we're wearing all uniform, we're wearing all of our uniform. So the Shape Clinic with their water is extremely helpful for that. On the other hand, our rehearsal gear is very light, athletic shorts, athletic T-shirt. On those days, I feel sorry for the Shape Clinic because they're standing there in 85-degree weather with their black scrubs on.
That's right. That's right. Thanks, Rob. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming
Certainly, my
along and
pleasure.
wearing your uniform. We appreciate the uniform, so thank you. Okay, yes, you have a question? Yes.
Why do the uniforms have to be made out of wool? Why can't they make out of something lighter and much more comfortable?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the question was, why do the uniforms have to be made out of wool, and isn't there some type of a material that would be lighter and would breathe easier? Now, Rob, is there a technical reason for that you can give us?
Yes, economy. Here, let me go ahead. The single biggest reason, and it might not be to the benefit of the marchers, is economy. We need our uniforms to be extremely durable, that they might last a lot of generations of marchers, because these things run $500, $600 depending on the manufacturer, and so we have to make them last. And so light materials that fall apart after a year or two, especially with the wear we get out of them, we need to go heavy duty. So, and there's always the tradition of the wool military style uniform. So,
yeah, there is an appearance. There is an appearance to it. And if you didn't have wool, like different kinds of materials that are lighter, they don't have the drape to the material, and it just doesn't give the look that you're after. So yeah, that's a really good question. We thought about it, but yeah, so far no one's solved that one for us. Yeah, thanks. Go ahead, yes.
I have a question about hydration.
Uh-huh.
These uniforms. As part of your own research or benefiting the band, would it not be conceivable to hide hydration in the uniform, either in the hat, either in the uniform itself, so that you could cool the performers in some way, have water? I mean, I know it would be tricky, it would be untraditional and so on, but if we really got into this sort of thing to prevent hydration on a very hot day when the band members are just standing there,
yeah,
could you not think of a clever way to get them water without somebody running out in the field and squirting them in the face?
Yeah. Yeah, so the question revolves around other ways for hydration and to stay cool, and whether we can hide things in their uniform, whether there are other methods of somehow keeping these guys cool and hydrated. And that's another good point. I mean, there's a limitation to what you actually can put in the uniform. They're not like full of pockets and things like that. And also if you put water in there, so now you've got added weight. You got the space of it, and so that can impact your movement. You saw some of the choreography that they did, and doing a 270 split when you've also got water inside your uniform would obviously be a bit of a problem. So there's some kind of practical reasons. I will say this, that Dr. Sook and Mr. Boyer, our directors, are absolutely on board with the Shape Clinic, and we all see eye to eye, and we're all part of a team working together to make sure that these guys are safe and that they're out there, and so the athletic trainers are there checking temperatures and appearance, and you can tell when people are getting overheated. And so we're looking for those signs. It's just really a huge blessing for us to be able to work with Dr. Sook and Mr. Boyer and the band members themselves. They take it seriously, and they know that when we say this, that we mean it, because it's for their own good, because there are some dire consequences if that's not taken care of. So good question, and there are some of the reasons why it's not as feasible. It's a good idea, but maybe not as feasible as one might think or hope for. So we're at the point where we're open for questions. I want to just acknowledge Roxanne for inviting me to do this, and Cammie, her assistant, her student assistant that put together the flyer for it. Allie, Darby, and Aaron, who you've met. Jasmine, you've met today. Taylor was here. You met Rob. And then someone who's not here, but we have to acknowledge, is really our medical director, our physician medical director, Dr. Tim Law. So the Shape Clinic, as I mentioned at the beginning, we started in 2013 because we had a grant from the 1804 Fund here at Ohio University, and it's just been a real privilege to continue that. So we've got a couple more minutes for questions, and we're happy to answer anything that you might have. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so all of the things you were talking about could be accomplished with hemp.
With what?
Hemp, like the material, the fabric. They can make a vehicle, they can make a Lamborghini, and it's going to crumble like paper. But if they make it out of a composite of hemp, which has been demonstrated, it will not. It will not be harmed.
Okay. Well, it's so that's an area that we've not gotten into. So the point being made was that hemp as a material that potentially would have some practicality here. It's not an area of my expertise, so we'll have to look into that, I suppose. Thank you for the comment, though. Yes, ma'am.
How many colleges have a program like this, a department like this?
There are a handful of universities that have clinics. Most of the universities that have clinics like this treat their dancers. There are a couple that treat the same performing artists that we do, except for they don't have marching bands. So of all the universities in the United States that have clinics like this, we're the one that takes care of the most number of performing arts disciplines, and we have an educational program in academics in this area, and we have a very strong research program. So taking all of that together, the three prongs of clinic, research, and education, there's no other university in the United States that's doing the level of work in performing arts medicine that we are. So we feel very privileged to have this opportunity. It's quite a special program. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes?
Have you done research with hydration?
So the question is, have I done research with hydration? I personally, that's not an area of my research, but I've done some. We did a very interesting study with dancers to see if inside in the studios they had a tendency to have heat illness. And in fact, by the way, the way we did this was quite interesting. They make capsules that are thermometers that you swallow, and while they're in your body, they tell what the core temperature is of your body. And so we had a group of dancers that swallowed these, and then we mapped their temperature. Now, the temperatures were not as high as you would see outdoors when it's 95 degrees in summertime. But the temperatures were elevated and going in the direction of where we would expect them to be having heat illness. And this is from working inside a studio, because they're in the studio. It's humid, so you don't have a lot of convection of air. So there are some, that's why we did the study, was just we were interested to see inside, are these guys having elevated temperatures? And in fact, they were having elevated temperatures. Probably not dangerously elevated, but certainly with a need for attention to hydration. So that's been my area in hydration, but hydration as a whole is not my area of expertise, other than clinically and what we need to do to take care of these guys. So thank you for that question. Is there another question? Anyone else? One more question? No? I thought someone else had a hand up. Maybe? No other questions? Yeah, is there anyone else? So anyone else performing?
No, I do have a question. So let's just say that we have somebody in our audience who is now thinking, you know what, I've been living with this injury for a while and it's about time I come and take care of it. How do they interact with the Shape Clinic? Okay, so the question is, how do we interact with the Shape Clinic if we have an injury? Well, first of all, the Shape Clinic is set up for performing arts students. Those are the ones that we see. We see some of the visual arts students. Occasionally we see one of the film students or one of the other visual arts students that come. So if you're not a performing arts student, it's a little bit more complicated. If you emailed me, I certainly would be able to refer you to a place that I know that would be good. I would do that out of decency and care for you. If you're a performing arts student or faculty, then you can come to the Shape Clinic, and you simply have to come during the afternoons. We're open from 1:30 to 6 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and from 1:30 to 6:30 on Tuesday, Thursday. And then that is the time that's set aside for just walk. You don't need an appointment. You just walk in and say, "Can you help me, please?" And we'll say, "Yes, we can help you." So that's how that works. Does that answer the question? It does.
Yes.
And at this point, I'd like to wrap it up and just say thank you to Dr. Jeff Russell, but also all of his colleagues who were willing to come and do demonstrations for us. That was really special. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.